Hi everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're going to learn how to navigate BandLab's workspace. Before we start creating and recording our own song, it's important to get comfortable with the interface. We'll use the default demo project as our guide. This way you can see how all the different parts work together in a real song. So let's get started. What you're seeing over here is actually an interface from the BandLab. So let's get to the BandLab by going to bandlab.com and log in with your user ID. So once you're in, go to create. Okay, on the top right corner, I've changed my cursor to the red cursor, okay, so that you can see better. So let's go to new project. Now over here you will see different parts. So today let's get started with the voice audio. Okay, now we're going to load the demo project. Okay, so let's go to BandLab on the top left, click on the menu bar, go to project, and there is the third option, load demo project. There are three options for you to choose from: electronic, hip hop, or pop. So let's go with the pop. Alright, so over here you see a full song. Let's just play for a short bars so that you can hear what is the project about. To start playing, you can click on the play on top of your navigation. So this is at the middle. This is a transport icons. Okay, so you have the play, then you have the stop, you have the record, and you have the loop as well. So when you mouse over, you will be able to see the name and also the shortcut key. You can also press the space bar to start playing. Alright, so press spacebar to stop. Now this is a pretty nice demo song. So it has all together about 10 tracks over here. So you can see from your left there is a track count 01 all the way to 10. Okay, now for the free BandLab you can use up to 16 tracks. Okay, so please take note, but 16 track is usually more than enough. Okay, now let's just go through quickly what are all these tracks about. So this is an audio track. Okay, so you have the synth, you have the guitar loop, you have the keys. This is a MIDI. Okay, and you have the bass. This is also a MIDI. And then you have the electronic, this is a grand piano, and then you have your drum loop, you have your disco claps, you have the sampler. This is fantastic. I'm going to show you how to use this later on. And then of course you have the snare. To go over to the right portion, you can just click on the bottom over here. There's a slide bar. Just click and drag. You should be able to see all the projects. Okay, now this is how it is like. Okay, so you can of course use your scrolling up and down to go through the songs as well. Now let's quickly go through the interface. So on top, this is the transport portion. Okay, now on the left, this is your key. So you have your minor key, you have your major key. You just need to select whether you are on the minor or major key, and then the key. All right, and then this is your signature. So this song is a 4/4 song. We have the beat, the tempo. Okay, so if you double click, you can actually change it, the song tempo, the tempo of the song. Okay, so of course we are not going to change it over here. This is your metronome. Okay, now when you do the drop down for the metronome, okay, when you turn it on, it becomes blue, and you turn it off and it becomes white. When you have the drop down over here, there is a tap tempo, meaning by tapping your tempo on your left mouse, you will be able to see the tapping. Okay, all right, so let's just go back to the original. This is too fast. Obviously, don't adjust. Okay, so let's go back to 110. Now, when you want to do redo or undo, you can actually use the Control Z. Okay, this is the most awesome shortcut keys that we have ever created. For Mac, it would be a Command Z. Okay, now beside this, over here you will see this icon. Okay, so this keyboard icon, when you turn it on, basically it is for you to activate and play with your keyboard, computer keyboard. So for example, when I click this and I navigate to the base, when I click on my keyboard, okay, so there's a sound. Of course, you can also connect it to your MIDI controller if you have any. Okay, which I'm connecting now. So this is the keys. Okay, so let me just turn this off. This is an automation. Okay, the icon over here below the keyboard. Okay, this is automations we are going to talk about in a future lesson. Okay, now so for the keys, same thing. When you click on this, okay, so click on the keys, then you will be able to play. Click on the keys, okay, on your computer keyboard. Right, next, of course, adding the tracks. So when you click on the track, add track, you can choose different types of the tracks, which we are going to go through now. So obviously, this is a actual synth loop. Okay, so last sessions we talked about how to actually choose your loops. So just by going down to your bottom right over here, there is this BandLab sounds. So when you click, and all these samples and the packs are all over here. So if you have not seen this, you can go back to the previous video. Okay, so let's close it by clicking again. So when you double click on this, you will see that the editors sections has been enabled. So you can see this is the waveform of this particular track. You can solo them by clicking the S. Okay, so or the shortcut key will be Shift S. Okay, solo A. Okay, and you can also mute it, M. So Shift M is to mute this. Okay, now of course over here, this is your volume automations. Okay, if you want to do the automations, but we are not going to do the automations. Okay, now next thing is the editor, and then beside the editor, so let's take a look at the pitch shift. If you want to shift the pitch, you can do that. Playback speed, and this is region gain. This is very useful because, for example, if you look at this chunk of the waveform, is kind of loud, so you can actually reduce the waveform by just dragging over, and then this is minus 5.1. so when you play, so it should go softer. Okay, now let's go to the next one, which is the bass. Okay, so the bass over here is actually a MIDI. Okay, so MIDI means when you, this is actually a virtual instruments. Okay, it doesn't have an actual waveform of the audio, but it's triggered by MIDI. We are going to look at that in the future. Okay, so today we are not going to talk in details. Okay, but if you want to change the instruments, you can navigate to Instrument tab over here, and then click on this bump up bass just beside the instrument. You'll be able to choose different types of instruments. So let's say, for example, I navigate to electric bass. Instead of this bump up bass, I may want to choose a different sound. So in this case, let me just check. Maybe I'm looking at the electric bass. I can audition, or I want to, seems quite fun, so I can click, and then it will just switch over to that song. So let me just play solo. Sounds quite cool. Alright, this is quite cool. Now, this is grand piano, same thing. You can actually choose. So in this case, so I think this is not a grand piano. They've probably named it wrongly. This is actually a pad. This here. Yeah, this is actually a pad. So this is called the sampler kit. Okay, sampler kit. There are different types of kits that you can choose from. So what it does is actually like a pad. So what you're seeing over here, the numbers is actually correlate to the number on your keyboard. So when I press 4, this is actually the number key on my keyboard. Okay, so I press Y, then it goes to the Y. There are a few ways that you can use this. So you can actually input your own audio, you can drag and drop an audio file, or you can browse the sound. So for example, if I want to import a sound to YPad, okay, so I can actually browse the sound. So let's say, oh, this sounds quite cool, right? So I can just click and drag and drop it over here, and then it becomes a sample. So I can also determine how short and how long I'm gonna use this for. So for example, I can press Y. If I want it to be shorter, I can just go here. Okay, so we're gonna talk more about this in the future. So let's move on. You can see that there is another sampler over here. Okay, so let me see. What else? Okay, now you have the left and right. This is the panning. So to create an effect, whether this instrument is on the right or on the left side of the stereo track. Okay, now next we have the top part. Okay, so this is mastering. Mastering meaning to have your input gain. So just leave it as 0 dB. We're going to talk about mastering in the future. All right, now next is the master volume. Okay, so over here, yeah, so you can adjust the volume. Invites, you can actually invite your friend if you want to join you to create the songs together. This is pretty much quite fun. Just put in their email address and then it will be sent over. They will be able to see your tracks and you guys can collaborate, and it's pretty fun. Okay, so moving forward, this is, okay, so this magnet that you see over here, okay, so this is actually snap to grid. What it means is whenever you drag, okay, a bar, so you actually snap to the grid. Okay, so let me just zoom in. So you can click zoom in. Okay, so let me just double click over here. So when I move the bar, it actually snapped to the exact beat over here. If you want to turn it off, sometimes we just want it to be a little bit offbeat. We can do so by just clicking on the magnet on and off. Okay, now one more thing. When you do a right click on the beat over here, you will see beat and measure, minute and second. So if I change to minute and second, this is how it's gonna look like. So it will measure by minutes and seconds. So usually we will go with the bar and measure. Okay, so this is a quick navigations of the BandLab. So play around and I'll see you next round. Bye bye.